Hi, welcome to SBR.TV. I'm Peter Loshak for a Week 10 college football preview. Once again, joined by SBR moderator and statistical modeling handicapper Justin Seven. Justin, thanks once again for being here. Does your model have any plays this week?
As a matter of fact, I have one play this week.
All right, well, we'll get into that a little later and find out what the play is. Last week, you gave 3 plays. They were all huge dogs, but the final results of the games turned out to be very close to what the lines were. So what do you make of those results? You still stand by your picks and your model, and you still love bad teams and all that? You
know, I went 1-2 last week. That's fine. Yes, I stand by my model, and you're going to I remember, I lose almost half my bets. So if you're if you're as bad as a 50-50 coin flipper, you're going to do 1 and 2 or worse half the time. So I think I'm better than a 50-50 coin flipper. I don't mind going 1 and 2, or even having a horrendous losing week once in a while, because that's expected.
So you never look at how the games turned out on the field and think maybe you were on the wrong side of one particular game, even if you still believe in the model overall?
I try not to agonize over it too much, or you'll just lose sleep. I mean, if we've watched, I did watch the first quarter of the Ohio State-New Mexico game, and it was a 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. But then then I'll just agonize if I continue talking about it, so I'll just let it go.
All right, well, this week there are 3 morphes of 30 points or more in the top 25 games. And the funny thing is that all 3, again, seem to maybe be bad spots for the dog. Vanderbilt is one. They're playing Florida. In addition to being way outclassed by Florida, they're also dealing with numerous key injuries. Central Florida is another one. They're off a short week and possibly in a letdown spot. If a mid-range team playing a top 10 team can never really be in one, Central Florida. Last week they played a nationally televised win over Marshall, and that was a huge one for them. They kind of focused on putting everything into that game and not into this one that they sort of know they can't win. And then finally, Arizona at home against Washington State is surging on both sides of the ball. They're off of a bye week, and just looking they might be primed for a blowout. So, and also all 3 of those lines have been bet up at least 2 points in favor of the big faves. I asked my source at Bookmaker why that was. He told me that the Florida and Arizona games moved because of some sharp money, while the Texas game moved because of public volume. So what do you think of these 3 lines, if anything?
It's funny with your breakdown. There's one game I really love, and there's 2. One I have no opinion, and one I lean against. My best play of the week this week is Central Florida plus 36. So one of those 3 dogs I like. Washington State plus 32.5. No, I don't like them. They're a big dog, but I don't like all big dogs. I like big dogs that I think can play a competitive game. And then I don't really have an opinion on Florida Vandy. Okay, well, you're on the opposite side of the public on that one, at least according to my source at Bookmaker. That must be nice to hear, right? I love being opposite of public action. These big favorites often get bet up early, and most of the time, anytime it's a top 10 team and the line is going up above 30, it's more often than not public money.
Right, okay, well, that is the case in that game. Okay, so what do you think of the 2 marquee matchups this week? LSU plus 7.5 at Alabama and Ohio State plus 3.5 at Penn State. Alabama, they're off of a bye. LSU is off of an easy blowout win. So let's start with that one.
I think Alabama is the right side. LSU is going to crash into a brick wall when they try to run this. They already have just an average rushing game. Alabama has an amazing rushing defense. If the rushing game gets shot down, which I expect to have happen, I expect LSU to perhaps have under 100 yards rushing. That sets them up into a lot of bad passing situations. So I don't think LSU is in the same class as Alabama. That said, I made the fair line Alabama 10. I think the best way to play this game, though, especially when the line is at 7.5 and the total in this game is only 40, the best way to play this game is to tease Alabama down to 1.5.
Interesting, even though you generally recommend against teasing college games.
I generally recommend teasing college games, but there's one set that's extremely strong. That's when you have a home favorite with a total under of 48. In this case, I have a home favorite, I have a total of 40, and I like the home favorite. So those 3 factors combined, I may end up I'll mix this with other games. I haven't looked at the NFL card, but if there's a lot of NFL games, I'll make this the first leg of a lot of different teasers.
Interesting, great. Great stuff. And then Ohio State, Penn State, what do you think about that one? I was told that the public and sharp money, as of now, is leaning towards Penn State at Bookmaker.
I have no opinion on it. I made the line right where it is.
Okay, good. Good. Then the next game that I wanted to ask about, this is kind of an interesting one. It's Navy at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's an 11-point home favorite, and the big news there is that they're getting back star wide receiver Michael Floyd, which once he gets up to full speed will give Notre Dame 2 awesome receiving threats that'll make their already powerful passing game way more impressive still. Navy has been a team that I've actually liked a lot this year, and I bet on a lot and won with, but I'm wondering if they might be outclassed here. Their 2 offensive stars, Ricky Dobbs and Marcus Curry, are both coming back to this game off of injuries, and it's not clear if they'll be in peak form. So what do you think of this line, Notre Dame -11?
I think Navy's the right side in this game, and Navy is a very bad matchup for Notre Dame. They're averaging 280 yards rushing per game, and what people don't often look at when they're comparing rushing and passing yards are worth more than passing yards. Roughly every 3 rushing yards is worth 4 passing yards in terms of offensive production. Because you're controlling the ball better and you're converting more in the red zone. And to look at these 2 teams, even though Notre Dame is averaging almost 100 yards of offense more per game, they're only putting up 2 more points a game. And part of that is their problems in when they get close to scoring. They've had 15 field goal attempts, converting 14 of them, versus Navy's 12 attempts and only 9. So, Navy's even gotten the raw end of the deal with the field goals, and their point production is still a ton better per yard generated. Now, when you have I'm not done. When you have a good rushing team that's playing as an underdog, again, that tends to shorten the game. So this could very easily be a game that's decided by 4 or 7 points. And I think getting 11 points is very good in this.
All right, so what stock do you put in the return of Floyd? And that's something that everyone's really been speculating about, talking about, thinking that this might make Notre Dame truly dominant.
Having Tate and Floyd back in the lineup together causes a lot of defensive problems. If you're going to double cover both of them or run a complex coverage scheme where you're tying up 4 defensive backs to cover these 2 people, there are holes elsewhere. And so you can't do that, so one of them is going to get a favorable passing situation. So if he's back at 100%, I expect their offensive production to go up. Same thing with Navy and the return of their 2 starters. So Navy's the right side, and you may also look at the over on this, because I think Notre Dame's going to have a lot of trouble stopping their attack.
Interesting. Well, Navy did give up a lot of rushing yards last week, though, to Temple. So I'm wondering if that might not signal some kind of new vulnerability in the Navy defense.
Temple is underrated. Look, they're 6-2 on the year. Navy's schedule, they have 3 losses. They've lost to Ohio State in a game they could have won. They lost a competitive game to Penn State, and they lost a game to Temple when they're out a couple of their starters and it was a close game. So, this Navy team, if they beat Notre Dame, they'll probably win out the rest of their season, go 10-3, and not get a BCS game, but get a very good bowl game.
Right, absolutely. No, I agree with you on Navy. I've been following them and betting them all year. I was just wondering if they might be getting outclassed here offensively with the return of Floyd and the season wearing on, maybe taking something out of him. All right, well, but that's there we go. Great analysis this week. Thanks, Justin. That's it for Week 10 in college football. Come to sbrforum.com as usual to discuss all this and more, and look forward to my Q&A with Dr. Bob on Friday, where I'll be getting his take on some of these same games that we discussed today. For SBR.TV, I'm Peter Loshak.